Well, thank you very much for having me here. Very often when I'm called in speaking these technological symposium or happenings in the last 2 or 3 weeks, we have had TechCrunch having its first meeting in Rome. Then we had a TED conference on transmedia. Now, today, I'm coming here to greet this conference, which I really appreciate the fact that it's not only a scientific conference, but it's also a conference which looks at solutions, as Professor Matera said. So it's not something which thinks of itself as outside any kind of immediate application, but is actually very much based on immediate application. Well, I'm very happy, but on the other hand, I've got always mixed feelings, in the sense I'm happy of the fact that we have this impressive list of countries, as Mr. Meyer said, of countries being here. And actually think it's very good because it's something which provides and contributes to the internationalization of this city, and maybe to the fact that in high-level or influential areas, once people start thinking about Rome not only as a city linked to the antique, but to a city with a high potential in the new technologies. On the other side, the mixed feeling is given to the fact that the capacity of Rome to attract people, its brand, if you want, the fact that in conferences like these ones, like the ones I attended last week, they were full of very influential people in their domain, actually makes you think about what Rome could be, what the potentiality of this city could be in terms really of attractiveness of world-level intellectual, maybe not only for a conference, but maybe spending a sabbatical here in Rome, and really increasing the quality of the environment where we are working and we are here. This brings me, and I think it's interesting because I think that Mr. Fritza gave you a very interesting picture of the technological work the local authority, the Comune, is doing. I represent the province, and I think I want to follow in the same steps, in the sense I would like to give you a perception of my perception, having worked in this post for the last 3 years, of where Rome is, where it's going, what are its areas of strength and weaknesses, in a way to provide you in these 3 days to have a more, if you would, a more accurate view of where you are, what the circumstance where you're finding this city. Obviously, Rome is in this kind of sort of strange situation of all metropolitan areas of the world. That is the fact that Rome is in competition with everybody else, in the sense that we are all competing to attract smart people, we are all competing to attract good companies, and on the other hand, we are also cooperating with the cities. I managed all the part of the province which deals with European affairs, and we are always conducting our projects in strict cooperation with other cities that are cooperating with us, but on the other hand, they're also competing with us. And in this competition, let's say Rome is currently not in a very high position, in the sense that in the rankings are not put Rome in a very high position in terms of a place where to do business, a place where businessmen, business leaders looked at Rome as a place where to go. And that's, in a way, the reason why we decided as a province of Rome to put our efforts into creativity and innovation, in the sense that we linked possibly this lack of consideration by international rankings of Rome as a thing that could have been improved by a strong emphasis on creativity and innovation. And we did it for a number of reasons. The most evident one is that obviously creativity and innovation are like the zeitgeist of the moment. I mean, the Giampaolo Manzella of every large city in the world would be saying at this moment that we are strongly emphasizing our activity on creativity and innovation. On top of that, I think that Europe is giving a great boost to actually give and link and conduct cities toward certain strategies. We think about Europe 2020, we think about Smart Cities project, we think about digital agenda, we think about the European era for creativity and innovation. These are all elements that we took into consideration while we were defining our strategies. And I think it's important in a moment where Europe in a way is in, especially for people coming from outside Europe, Europe is in a moment of crisis, and I think it's very interesting to look at the fact that even if at the macro level Europe is in crisis, at the micro level, at the, where you manage and you measure the influence of the European message at the lower level of government, I think it's still a very strong aspect to be considered in the overall evaluation of the European Union construction. Then I think that there are some kind of things very specific about Rome, which induced us to move towards this creativity and innovation message. Universities. Rome is the larger basin of university researchers and students. As Mr. Frezza says, Rome is a young city. There is a young potential here. Is a city which is changed its skin under the industrial side, in the sense that it is a city that more and more is going to tertiary with excellence of industrial and high-level technology. So Rome is not anymore what, if you want, the legend saw Rome as a city of mainly the public administration and trade, and Rome is becoming something very, very, very different in this respect. And I think the final element is the people. The more and more when you go into universities, when you go into policy making, when you go into journalism, when you go into legal services, when you go into finance, you find people who have studied, who have worked portion of their lives in other countries. We have masters in universities of Europe or outside Europe. So there is an element of these people actually pushing in order to improve, in order to innovate in the city's government and in the services they require, etc. Under the push of these different elements, and in the difficulties of a city in a way changing its vocation, I think we work on some key projects that I think are important. The most important one is probably Wi-Fi. It's possibly Wi-Fi. We were really pioneers in launching a Wi-Fi network. The network now covers all the area of the province, and it's become really an element which, in a way, provides a real connection between areas of the province which were not covered which not have digital access. And I think it has been a very interesting experiment, to the extent that other local authorities in Italy have been taken this example, and we started a sort of federation of Wi-Fi spaces, in the sense that we are federated with other areas of the country, and if you use the password to enter into our network, you can, for example, when you go to Venice, you can move in, you can operate on their network. And I think it's a more important also because, and I don't think is a secondary element. If you move into all the small villages or the cities of the province of Rome, you always have in the center of the piazza a big a targa, a stamp, saying provincia Wi-Fi, which in a way, I think it's an element that also psychologically, it's an element that makes people glue together and actually feel the idea that there is somebody, some public action unifying them and providing a service. Then, on top of that, I think that what is interesting is this open data that we just launched again. We launched the open data in raw data being published and in apps trying to, if you want, animate the community in Rome to try to exploit this data in order to have applications. And then more generally, I think that we are building on work on contributing to building to an ecosystem for innovation. For example, involving people from the technical industry into the policymaking activity. For example, through prizes. For example, through the sponsoring of conference in order to improve the education. As I said, on apps contest, we are trying to work in the schools. That is, we are trying to make this narrative of innovation and creativity and technology spread in a city where the data that, for example, we're giving before, it's still with some gaps to cover. And in this sense, I think that one of the main aspects is to work on the narrative. Rome has got a huge narrative, as you can imagine. Is the narrative of history, is the narrative of the past. And I think that the great effort that we have got to put, and we are putting, is in a way contributing to change this narrative. That is, there is a whole world of that deals with technology, with innovation that is emerging. I very often think when I speak about Rome to Jerusalem. In a way, Israel is a country that was linked to this enormous cultural and spiritual heritage. I mean, if I can think of the two cities with the greatest, if you want, backpack of tradition and of fame linked to the past, possibly are Jerusalem and Rome. And yet, if you see Jerusalem as Israel has in a way changed the idea and the perception that there is about the country with this startup and innovation great wave. We are working on that here as well. It is difficult, but I'm sure that with all the different stakeholders that are emerging in the last 4 or 5 years, I think that we are moving into that. And finally, on the title of this conference, network. Networks, I think that they are important for politics because through networks passes transparency, through networks passes accountability, through networks moves visibility, through network moves more efficient local services. But I think that network is very important for what policy is now, that is actually trying to make the different elements of a city working together. And in respect, I think that being also occasional tourist in this city, but bringing here a portion of your knowledge in this theme, in a way makes you part of this network we are trying to build. So thank you very much for being here.